All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today for our Citizens United 15th anniversary planning call. This is going to be planning a nationwide coordinated day of action that we are going to all be participating in this Tuesday, the 21st, which is the 15th year anniversary of the disastrous Citizens United versus FEC Supreme Court decision that had disastrous effects on the integrity of our democracy, how corporate constitutional rights work in this country, and it also spurred the creation of Move to Amend. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to kind of go over a little bit about what Citizens United actually is, what the decision actually was, what it did, and also what it is not, and how it fits in with Move to Amend's general framework. Then we're going to talk about the actual action that we have planned for the 21st, where all of us are going to have hopefully have our affiliates have local contingencies that can go deliver a letter and have a little action and lobbying to their local representatives, trying to encourage them to support the We the People Amendment, which is about to be reintroduced into the 119th Congress in the next month or two. We're also going to share all the resources that you may need, including some talking points about Citizens United, instructions for the actual day, as well as a brief survey that we're going to have you fill out so that we can know where people are joining us from and how widespread this movement is. So that'll be followed up by a brief Q&A session. If any people that have been with Move to Amend for a long time and have experience with lobbying for the We the People Amendment, especially, maybe that can be a time where you can maybe share some of your insights and experience. And then we'll be wrapping it up. So before we get started, I do want to go over some of our community guidelines here for our Zoom calls. These. Also, here's the agenda so that you can follow as well. So the community guidelines, these are, to ensure that we have a productive and equitable conversation, that nobody gets talked over or, goes without being heard. Just real briefly, I'm going to go over them. So if I could ask everybody to mute yourself now, you can then unmute yourself if and when you wish to speak. When you wish to speak, either raise your physical hand or hand icon located at the bottom of your screen. You may at any time make a comment or ask a question in the chat. You may also do so while we are kind of doing the program, but be mindful that we're trying to get through some information. So and that there will be a designated time for questions at the end. A lot of this, might seem, all over the place. So please, again, if you have questions, feel free to ask them. When speaking or commenting in the chat, please be brief, to the point, and respectful. It's absolutely okay to disagree with people and their points of view, but please do so respectfully. I trust all of you to be able to do that. Lastly, just kind of a general thing, watch your language, any talking over or disrespectful language will not be tolerated. We'll either ask you to go on mute, or worst comes to worst, we may have to remove you if it continues to be a problem. All right, with all the not fun rules out of the way, we can now get into why we are here, talking about Citizens United, what it has done to our what little democracy we had to begin with, how it has really kind of corrupted one of the last checks that we had on corporate power, that being the legislature, but also talk about where it lies within the context of Move to Amend, our fight against corporate constitutional rights, and the future, which again I mentioned we're reintroducing the We the People Amendment into the 119th Congress. Representative Pramila Jayapal will continue being our lead sponsor in the House. And we are working diligently and hopefully closer than we have ever been to introducing it to the Senate. So for the purposes of our action plan on the 21st, we're going to be mainly focusing on representatives. But, if you have a relationship with a senator or you think your senator might be a good candidate, that's definitely a possibility, and we'd love to talk to you about that. But for this, we're really going to be trying to kind of focus on getting original co-sponsors in the House for the We the People Amendment. But anyway, back to Citizens United. So what Citizens United is, I'm going to go into what it is first and then kind of tell you what it isn't. What it is some of you may know, some of you may be unfamiliar, but it's one of the worst Supreme Court decisions that we've ever had. It allowed for basically unlimited and unchecked amounts of money, dark money, if you want to call it that, to money coming from corporate interests, private interests, special interests, non-human entities flooding our legislatures and our elections, making it so that money is paramount to winning elections, making it so that it's a congressperson's main prerogative once they get in office is maintaining power and currying the favor of the people that funded or the corporations that funded their campaigns in the first place. I'm getting off track here. I'll forewarn everybody. Anytime I talk about Citizens United, I can tend to go off the rails. So I'll try and monitor myself. But if I start rambling, please let me know. But so it's one of the worst Supreme Court decisions of all time. Like I said, it allowed for unlimited amounts of spending in elections by extending a doctrine that we are all at Move to Amend very familiar with, the doctrine of corporate personhood and corporate constitutional rights, expanding the notion that comes all the way from the 1800s that a corporation should be treated as an individual in the eyes of the law, and should have individual rights that are the same as, or unfortunately often superior to that of us living, breathing human beings. It allows corporations to it allowed for it. Basically, what the decision was is the Supreme Court saying that limitations and restrictions on the amount of money a corporation or an interest group like the NRA can give to a particular political candidate, restricting that amount of money is a violation of that corporation or that lobby group's First Amendment rights to free speech. And so not only is it extension of the doctrine of corporate personhood, this is a logical and legal fallacy, it's also an extension or an affirmation of the notion that comes from a couple decades before the Buckley versus Vallejo decision, which said that money is to be considered free speech in elections. So since Citizens United, what you've seen is basically just complete Wild West when it comes to campaign finance, corporations, special interests that, of course, are almost entirely profit-driven and intended to maximize shareholder value with little to no regard for the environment, for human rights, worker rights. Again, sorry, I can go a million miles an hour to this stuff. So that's what Citizens United is. It is also it's the reason that I chose to get into this work, the Citizens United decision. When I was in the undergrad at the University of Georgia, I was in a public speaking class, and I chose to do a persuasive speech about how much money was spent in elections. And at the time, I wasn't aware of Citizens United, and doing research for that project, I went down this rabbit hole and realized, wow, our legislatures since Citizens United are basically, it's basically a bidding market for big interests, big business, big money, dark money to, you know, effectively buy and sell legislators and buy and sell representatives and votes. It completely goes in the face of the notion of one person, one vote. If you have more influence and are able to pour more money into an election, into a candidate, they are much more likely to listen to you over their average constituent, and of course, they often do. That was one of the counter arguments at the time of Citizens United, that wouldn't happen. It has absolutely happened. You don't get motion on basically anything in Congress anymore. There's no motion on Medicare for all because the insurance companies have their own elected officials um, that that hinder legislation to that effect. We don't have action on gun control because the NRA uh, uh, effectively lobbies and funds the campaigns of their own elected officials. I mean, you name it. The environment. Basically, we have right now a corporatocracy where our corporations are able to make policy and make law. And of course, with that ability, they make it as pro business and pro corporate as they possibly can, resulting in a lot of the dysfunction that we now see in our society. It's not hard to see. We just had an election that $20 billion were spent to elect Donald Trump, who has already, without being sworn in, showed that he is extremely beholden to billionaire interests and private interests, the Elon Musks of the world, who are able to then gallivant around without winning any elected office. Anyways, I'm starting to ramble again, but um, I want to quickly touch on what Citizens United is not. So, yes, it really opened the floodgates, and one of the last checks that there was on corporate power, which of course corporations have long held disproportionate influence in our society. But this, the legislature and our politicians before were really, supposed to be a check on that and a way to rein in some of that corporate power. Now, what you see is this complete marriage of politics and business in a way that the again, I'll reiterate, the cracks are starting to show, and I think all of us can kind of see the dysfunction in our society that comes from having corporate owned legislators. So now to the kind of how this fits into Move to Amend. So Move to Amend, like other groups that are doing similar work, obviously want to overturn Citizens United, and we have advanced the We the People Amendment to do that, to say that corporations, once and for all, corporations are not individuals in the eyes of the law, and money is not speech. What's important and what kind of distinguishes us from other groups that do some similar work is that the idea of corporate personhood, and again, of money as speech, long predate Citizens United, and it really, it made it a lot worse and made it so that the effects of corporate rule are much easier to see and much kind of more out in the open. But this has really been a problem for a long time. And some of the other solutions to that problem that have been proposed by other groups really don't get, there's a good, Greg has a good quote here in the talking points, which is linked in the agenda that I sent in the chat. The goal should not to be simply restore legal hurdles, but to build a wall preventing corporations and the super rich from corrupting our elections and harming people and communities. The goal should be to end all corporate constitutional rights and the doctrine that money equals free speech. So again, this is how I got into the fight against corporate constitutional rights, is by seeing how much I felt like my legislators were not listening to me and instead were listening to whatever X polluting big business. But really, the problem goes much deeper than that. And so the We the People Amendment really seeks to root that out and make sure that, this is a once and for all thing. We don't have to we don't half fix the problem. So I think I've talked enough. I would love to talk ad nauseum about this. And if any of you would like to reach out to me, my email is cole@movetomend.org. And I would love to talk all day about corporate constitutional rights, as I'm sure a lot of you would as well. But I will instead kick it over to one of my fellow co-director, Jennie Spanos, who's going to talk a little bit more about what we're actually going to be doing on the 21st to commemorate this embarrassing anniversary that we have coming up. Jennie?
Thank you, Cole. Hi, everybody. It's great to see you. I'll see some new faces here and some old familiar friends. So welcome. It's great to see you. And I'll get right into it. I'm Jennie Spanos, National Co-Director for Move to Amend. I learned of corporate constitutional rights shortly after the Citizens United decision came down. Started volunteering with Move to Amend right away because I recognized that this was really getting to the roots of the problem. After covering the oil spill in 2010, the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico was a real eye-opener to me, and seeing how this corporate overreach into our everyday lives really affect us. And if y'all have ever lived through something like that and had the oil companies come and start setting the tone for when everything's cleaned up or what's really going on, and seeing your communities get sick in a way that was unprecedented for me and our community at the time. Until I got together with Move to Amend and started doing this work, really feeling like we were getting at the root of the problem, I kind of felt a little hopeless. So Move to Amend has inspired me since that day, because they are working at the root problems, and problems that a lot of folks do not even realize. Like Cole said, a lot of folks think that Citizens United was the beginning and the end, and all we have to do is overturn it. And we all know that that is just not true. It was built on precedent. So this is a great opportunity to educate and agitate in your communities with Citizens United, because it is one of the more well-known cases. And so it's a great opportunity to use this date and this time to really bring awareness to your rep and to try to get them on to the We the People Amendment and your community, letting them know and sharing the knowledge that you have about the corporate constitutional rights and money is politics. So the idea is to visit your congressional office of your House representative. And if you don't know the name, don't worry. We have it linked in the website, a website that you can go to and look it up and make sure that you have the right person. Once you have that, you can get the location and contact information for your nearest office, your in-home office. You call the office, schedule an appointment, let them know that that you are coming on this day, and if you can meet with somebody, perhaps it'll be a staffer. We will be in session at this time. Congress will be in session, so they won't be in your districts, but you'll be able to meet with your representatives, aid to the community. So a great person to talk to, and the ask is to come on as a co-sponsor, as an original co-sponsor for the We the People Amendment when it's introduced in the 119th Congress, which will be probably the end of February, early March. We're still looking for the best time to introduce, and that information will be coming out. But until then, they can contact, if your rep is ready to come on, they can contact the aide in Jayapal's office and get on that list of original co-sponsors. It's a great opportunity to connect with others in your community, to do the action at large. Also, organizing a brief presence outside your representative's office before going in and delivering the letter that is the official invite, if you will, to come on as an original co-sponsor, excuse me. So organizing that brief presence, and we're going to do some overlapping. Greg's going to go over the resources more in detail. So I don't want to, get into the trenches too much now, so that we're being as thorough and as concise on each independent things that we're going in, but organizing a brief presence outside your representative's office, something visible, something that will get some news coverage, something that will give you that avenue and that platform to educate others in your community. Just holding signs, handing out flyers, speaking to folks walking by. We have some suggestions for your signs, like in corporate rule, legalized democracy, pass the We the People Amendment. Um, but the goal is to kind of put a spotlight on this particular time, Citizen United, raise awareness and to add pressure so that your representative will come on as a co-sponsor. We also have, and then we're going to have ways to reach out. We have some templates for a press release to go ahead and let all of your newspapers, radio, local podcasts, influencers, if you will, if you have that, or on your website and other socials to bring awareness that way. We also have handouts. We have templates for all of that, directions on how to send a press release. We have a template for a press release that you can personalize and edit to your particular action and community. And then, of course, after it's really important to come there, show enthusiasm, make a little noise, a little music maybe, and then go in and talk one-on-one and use this opportunity to educate your house rep. They may have been a prior sponsor and you're just asking them to come back on, or if they're a newbie to the house, or if they haven't come on before, then it's time they do, right? So this is a great opportunity to give them a heads up and let them have that opportunity to become an original sponsor, because that holds the gravitas on how important this is to them in the work that they're doing as well. And then, of course, we always want to follow up after the action, and thank folks that you meet with, that you're able to meet with once you get in there. Follow up with the press, make sure that they have that information. It's a great opportunity to get folks to sign the petition if they agree with you when you're doing your action outside, so that you can help organize and activate with them in the future as well. And it's also a good opportunity, if you're already working with organizations in your community, to ask them to join you on this really important moment. Many of y'all have brought organizations on as endorsing organizations in your community already, or you're doing work with them already in your community. It's a great way to get them to engage with this and use the We the People Amendment for the organizing tool that it has the potential to be in your area. Like I said, I don't want to get too much into the trenches on all of the resources, because Greg's going to go into more details on that. Does anyone have any questions about the action or need any more details on what it would be or some steps to take?
Jenny, I just really quick wanted to add that if you are, if you're unsure whether there will be people near you that are going, maybe there's not an affiliate near you or not. I think that the survey that we're going to be spreading out shortly on this call, I think might be able to clear that up a little bit for people, let them know if there's somebody in their area. So maybe some of that clarity might come from that.
Well, maybe we should get into some of the details. That makes sense. Okay. Greg Coleridge here, one of the co-directors, who is from Chile, Northeast Ohio, ancestral land of the Erie tribe. And it is quite chilly. somewhat snowy because we are in the snow belt, but nothing like Buffalo for any of you who may be along the northeastern part of Lake Erie. I am putting in the chat now the link to the page that has the individual links for some of the specific pages and items that Jennie just mentioned that I am now going to go over very specifically. And hopefully, here we are. Hopefully everyone can see this. I can get rid of this page. All right. So this is the page for you to go to. And please, you may want to copy that link right now and put it on your desktop or somewhere that you're put it down in crayon or whatever, but somewhere where you can copy it and come back to it after this call, either tonight or first thing tomorrow. So here is where the links are to the various pages. I'm not going to go into great detail because we've already dealt with, in sense, to some degree, some of these items. So here's a list of talking points that really tries to lift up, to go in depth and breadth of what makes this action to focus on Citizens United more than Citizens United, because that is what Move to Amend is about. Using Citizens United, which is how Move to Amend began around that anniversary on the very day, but using it as a springboard to say, did we not have anything approaching a real democratic paradise beforehand? And if you think back to all the problems associated with we the people having the real right to decide prior to Citizens United, just think back to, did we have national health care? Anything approaching single payer health care? Did we have, I don't know, remember the bank bailouts of 2007, 2008, in which the banks were bailed out and not the people, not communities? That happened before Citizens United. How about, all the communities that were not being served, people being helped? All of that happened before Citizens United. So it's important to understand that the real problems associated with we the people not having the power to decide what's going on in their communities, their lives, their country, their state, were problems associated with that occurred before Citizens United in 2010. So this talking points really gets into and furthers that. So something to take a look at as you are maybe developing something to say to the press, or when you wish to go in and meet with an aide to your congressional person. All right, so that's one of the links. Second, the various instructions. And here it's divided. So here are the instructions for taking local action at the congressional offices on January 21st. So it's divided into really four sections. The first three are, as sort of outlined, as Jennie already mentioned, in visiting the office of your congressional representative, what you need to do before you do that. So there's the link, the very first point of how to find out, if you don't know who your representative is, where to go to by putting in your address, zip code, and the like. Go to the website, scroll to the bottom of the page to find the location and contact info of the nearest local office. And so you want to call the office to try to schedule an appointment. Maybe you'll be able to actually meet with a staff person, maybe not. Maybe all you can do is just be able to go and drop off, a letter, which is focused on, we'll get to that in a minute. It'd be great if you can meet with a staff person. The best person to try to meet with is the director, the local director, because they're the person who is most knowledgeable and has the power to very easily and knows who to forward the letter that you will deliver and whatever testimony you may have to the DC office, because that's the real power center of the congressional office. And then lastly, optional is to recruit others. You can do this yourself. You don't necessarily have to have others. Of course, if you have others, the more people you have, the more power you have, the more leverage you have, the more you will be noticed when you go in. And those people, other people going in, don't even necessarily have to feel like they have to speak. If they, for whatever reason, don't want to, that's fine. But just being there, just being present will be very important. And then lastly, before you go into the office, is to edit the letter. And we're going to get to that in a second. So it's to take a look at the letter and edit the letter, personalize the letter, because the letter that we have as a template is just that, a template. It just needs to be personalized, needs to be made individual for your district, for your views, for what you want to say. All right. Second part to this in developing your plan of action that day. This isn't required, but certainly, again, this will increase the visibility both of individuals who may be walking past your congressional office, but also this is how you're going to attract the media. If you can say in the press release that we're going to get to in a minute that you're going to be doing an action outside your congressional office, you have a much better chance of a representative from the local press to be there, or at least if they can't physically be there, to want to interview you beforehand or afterwards. Because as they say in the local press, if it bleeds, it leads. If there's action that takes place, if there's something that's moving, that's occurring, as opposed to just a talking head, that's better. So to show people handing information out, having signs, that's going to be more enticing. That's going to attract the TV station or the photographer from the newspaper, from wherever, to take a picture. So if you're able to do an action, then what you want to do is show up before the scheduled time of the meeting, 15, 30 minutes beforehand. Hold signs, hand out flyers, speak with pedestrians, a couple of suggested signs, and then there's a handout suggestion. Basically, it's the letter that you're going to be handing. That's the very easiest thing to do, to hand out before, and just make copies of it. And you may also choose to take the petition. We have, as some of you know, a general petition that we use to collect supporters for the We the People Amendment. And there's a copy of that linked to there. And then finally, the thing to do before the January 21st is to send a press release. So you want to localize the release by adding your name and contact info. You want to research who to send the release to in your community. And, you know better than we do what the particular newspapers are, whether it's a daily or weekly, alternate press, radio station, TV station that covers, that has the best chance. In some places anymore, there isn't even a daily newspaper. It's sort of a community newspaper. It's a local paper that is, been supported by the community, or it's underwritten by, some other entity, a nonprofit organization. So think creatively, and those entities that you need. If you already don't know who the key person is to a news director or an editor or a writer of that newspaper, radio, or TV station, and send the release no later than Friday, January 17. That gives a couple of days ahead of time. And follow up if you're able. And this is really important because they're getting press releases from all over the place. What can make your press release stand out is a call, preferably the morning of the 20th. That's the day of. I know that's Inauguration Day. That's also Martin Luther King Day. So you're in competition with a lot of other things going on nationally or locally, if it's in the case of Martin Luther King Day. But early in the morning, all those newspaper people, radio people, and TV people are in the office or are wherever they are. And so reaching out early in the day, if you have to do it on the morning of the 21st, do it as early as possible. But Monday the 20th is okay as well, to try to do a follow-up call. Or if you can't find phone numbers, resend that email. Hey, the squeaky wheel truly gets the grease. That's true in organizing. I mean, think of the media as organizing, an organizing constituency, just as we all try, do we not, to organize constituencies, whatever that constituency may be. The media is a group to organize, and thinking about organizing them is employing some of the same strategies. They are a constituency that it takes contact. You need to develop relationships with media people just as you're developing relationships with any other constituency you're trying to work with. And then finally, following up, it's important. Contact the person you met in the congressional office to thank them for meeting and to make sure that they don't have any other questions, and to make sure that, in fact, they forwarded the letter that you gave to them to whoever the DC person is. Preferably, it's the legislative director. That's the person who really has the most knowledge and the power to put in the ear of the congressional representative what he or she thinks about the We the People Amendment and whether they should co-sponsor it. If you receive media coverage, great, contact the reporter to thank them. And again, if you received information or coverage, please let us know about that. We want to know, and we're willing to reprint and share with others. And so if you receive attention in the paper or get a story in the radio or TV station, send that link to us at info@movetomend.org. And optional, if you didn't receive media coverage, then think of what you did as an opportunity to put together a op-ed, or that can be pretty daunting, at least a letter to the editor. And a letter to the editor can vary in terms of word length. Each local newspaper varies in terms of what the maximum number of words are. So find out. You may know that already if you've already submitted a letter. If not, you need to contact your local paper and submit a letter there. And if it's a TV or radio station, or even if it's a newspaper, and you didn't get or don't have time to put together a letter to the editor, go to their webpage, or I should say, go to their social media and say, today or yesterday we did such and such, and put a link or try to copy the press release and put it in the Facebook notice. Why the hell not? Because if you can post something on their Facebook page, that may get a lot of likes. That may attract attention to the newspaper person in question. Facebook and social media is yet another way to reach out to the media. All right. Sorry for taking too much time on that. Lastly is a draft letter here. This is the letter. Again, it is a template. And so where it says name, you put the name of your rep, whoever that is. And then down here is an opportunity to, I think that's the only place. Down here is respectfully, you can put your name alone. If you were bringing others, family members, friends, whoever you can identify who's willing to come with you. And if you want to share this draft letter with them beforehand and they're willing to sign on, great, add their name. The more names you can have on this letter, the better. Again, power is in terms of people. Power is money. Power is media. Power is people. And the more people you have signing and supporting what you're doing, the better. So please don't address this template. Please, as we say in this page, download it first, edit it, and then print it. And the way you download it is you go to the letter. Here it is. You go here, you go up to File, you download it as a Word document, and it will download up here, at least on an Apple. Here's a place where you download. And when you click on it, it automatically goes to your desktop. Voila, there it is. So again, I can't emphasize enough, you don't want to make your changes and localize this from this template. You want to first make a copy of it, and do that by going here to download and making a copy here to Microsoft. All right. Lastly, that's a local letter to the office. The last thing is the local press release. Again, this is the same thing here. Okay, this particular page is where you want to put up here. This is a template. You want to put your name, your email, your phone number, so that when you send this to the press and they receive it, they will know who to contact if they want to use it. So this is sort of the one and only page you want to use. This, I think, I mean, Jenny can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is sort of a template for a press advisory. I don't know. This is sort of a different way to, and maybe Jenny can help clarify what this page is since she drafted it. But generally, this first page may be enough. And again, to localize it, and feel free. If you do want to do this, download here, or I should say here is a place where we've included in this paragraph sort of a draft quote, okay, that feel free to change it to your liking. But it's a quote. Again, it's a template. And so if you feel okay with it, again, here's a place to substitute your name, which is generic with actually your name. Said, if I was doing it, Greg Coleridge of wherever. But I don't need to say where I'm from because you've already put here. You can say Greg Coleridge, moved to men supporter. It is essential and go on, quote. So again, to do this, you want to not from this link, but rather you want to go up to file, you want to download here, and from the email, I should say from the download, go to MicroWord, and it's going to again, local press release. So here's the place to download. All right, I think that's it. The only other link on this page is a link to what we're calling a form. It's not so much asking you, a bunch of stuff other than if you want to take part in this event, if you want to, on the 21st, organize something, whether it's just you alone or whether it's with you and any number of other people, we're asking you to fill out this form by, I don't know if we put down here, the 16th. So we're not giving you a lot of time. We're just basically asking you to list your full name, your email address, your phone number, and what congressional district. Who's your congressperson? By name, by state, by district number. And if, again, you don't know who this is, here's the link to go to the U.S. House of Representatives to find out by putting in your zip code who your congressional district representative is. So once you find that out, you then fill this out. And we're asking you to do this by the 16th so that, going back, so that we at National Move to Amend on the 17th, this Friday, we're planning, just as we're asking you to send out a press release on this Friday, we are going to send out nationally a national press release that will list all the communities that have agreed to do something in their community. So we very much want to make sure if you are doing something that we know that, so we can list you and your community and your congressperson. So please, 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 if you plan to do something, you got a day or two to figure it out. It doesn't take a lot of commitment to decide if you're going to do this, but feel free to sign up right now if you want to, if you're committed. But if you want to wait a day or two, that's okay. But we really need to know by the 16th, which is the end of, what is that? Thursday. So please let us know by that day. Okay. How do I get out of here?
Yeah, I added that in the press release because when you send it to the different papers and different organizations, they can also put it on the community calendars and things like that in that way. So more information is, the more information you can get them, the less work they have to do on it, the more likelihood it's going to get into the paper because
Okay.
their time's limited.
So it's a different way for the press than to use what you've mentioned, including
Absolutely.
listing in the community calendar. Great. All right. Hopefully it didn't confuse folks.
We want to open it up to questions now. Or actually, Alfonso, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I was waiting for my cue. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Alfonso Saldaña, and I'm joining you all today from Brownsville, Texas, which is the ancestral lands of the Carrizo Comecrudo tribe. And yes, it's also where Elon Musk decided to host his little SpaceX project, for better or for worse. So yeah, like Jane said, it's time for Q&A. I would like to open it up for questions, and for our experienced affiliates, we would love to hear your advice or any tips that you might have that have worked well for you. Your insight could inspire others and guide them. And to give everyone a little chance to gather their thoughts, I would like to kick things off by sharing a short but memorable experience that I had with my first experience lobbying. I met with my congressional person. The person I actually met was a young legal aide who confessed how much of the time they spent actually catering to the special requests of big donors instead of actually working on the issues as he originally thought he would be working on the Hill. But the uplifting part of this is that staffers do keep a tally of how many people call or visit the office about any given issue. So with enough pressure from constituents like you all, we can create the political will to create the real change that we all deserve and want. So I think that is a very powerful reminder of why we're here. We're trying to shift the power balance back toward the people and not corporations as we currently have. So I would like to invite everyone, if you have any advice or questions, please unmute yourselves, or you can use the staff method. Just write a stack in the chat, and we'll get to you, whatever is easier for you. I see.
I
William, go ahead.
see William has his hand up. Oh, you're on mute. And then also Moji has his hand up. Is there? William, you're still on mute.
You can also
If
put the question in the
Okay,
chat.
sorry, I finally got it.
Oh, there we go.
I'm Bill from Humboldt County, California, land of the Yurok and I forget now, Yuroks and Hoopa and one others. Anyway, I had a question. I think my representative already supports move to amend and the We the People amendment. Is it good to go to them again and make sure they're still on board? Or
Absolutely. Because we have found, sadly, when a new congressional session begins, which happened January 3rd of this, technically January 1st, we start from zero. So right now we have zero co-sponsors. Now, officially, it won't be introduced for another, month or so. So this letter, if you had a chance to look over it, we're asking for people to commit to be an original co-sponsor. And why it's important is because, many times people who have been co-sponsors in one session aren't co-sponsors the next. A lot of times it's simply because, they're deluged with so many emails coming in, with so many asks. And again, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If we don't rise above the fray and don't get in front of their face, they don't know we're asking.
Okay.
So absolutely.
Thank you.
And I also want to jump in and piggyback off that to say, it's also just a great opportunity to remind, those legislators that have been supporters in the past, not only that they should, renew their support, but also, we mentioned it earlier. It really is the time that we really want to start talking about this more and really get it into the public sphere and really have more people know what a big problem this is and how absurd corporate personhood and corporate constitutional rights are. Leveraging, these elected officials, whether they've been longtime supporters or, are more new, getting them to talk about it more and just reassuring them that it's a big deal to their constituents can go a long way. And those voices uh, tend to get heard more than others.
All right, thank you.
Good point. Yeah, good point. And one of the ways, again, it's organizing, it's building relationships. If these people are strong supporters, that co-sponsorship should really just be the stepping stone, the original way that they support us. Because other ways they can support us is, for example, most Congress people send out, do they not, email newsletters or sometimes print newsletters. Why not ask them to put in their newsletter, hey, this past month I co-sponsored the We the People Amendment, and describe what it is or put a link into their newsletter. I mean, that's just one thing. And we've in the past had congressional co-sponsors submit op-eds in the newspaper when issues have come up that have been close to their heart, where they link the issue that's close to their heart with ending corporate rule and ending big money in politics. That's yet another way that they can go further than simply co-sponsoring. But it all begins with them co-sponsoring.
And I'll just chime in too, and Alfonso put it in the chat, is this is an opportunity for them to become an initial co-sponsor too, which shows even more of their support for it. And overall, when you have higher numbers of initial co-sponsors, it looks good for the bill itself as well.
When you say initial co-sponsor, that means they're doing it for the first time, is that?
No, it means when it's introduced, their name is already on it. They're not waiting until it gets introduced to put their name on it. They're part of the original package that goes in. So they can let Pramila Jayapal's office know prior to the introduction, and then they'll get an initial co-sponsor recognition.
Okay.
And then we also create a graphic and we raise them up on our social media platforms, across all of our social media platforms after they've come on as a co-sponsor officially.
Okay.
I think we have Moji was next. And
Hi.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Moji in Boulder, Colorado, and I heard from a congressional staffer of my member of Congress before he backed off from being working with me because of my Palestine views. He said I asked him for advice. He says, send people to the congressional offices, the local one, the ones that we don't know. Go different faces. And so don't send just the same group of people. Send people that we don't know. So that's one piece of advice. The other piece, when I was working on Iran nuclear deal, supporting that, one of the things I did was to offer my member of Congress at that time in Southern Arizona like a town hall, Iran peace, U.S.-Iran peace town hall. So if in response to what Bill said, if you're lucky enough to have a really sympathetic member of Congress to this particular amendment, then you could get some people that are to go and thank the member of Congress and offer them help in organizing a town hall and do as much of the homework as they would have to do. But offer them that way, when your sympathetic member of Congress realizes that he and his staff, or she or her staff, do not have to do all that much work, and there is a bunch of people are there to help, then they would put their name on it even more strongly, and they would advertise that town hall. So these are the thoughts I had. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Reggie. I want to highlight something that he said, which is that, I'm sure they would appreciate seeing, new faces. Alfonso said, it's sometimes just a numbers game to them, and that's really true. If 5 people call them, that's going to go further than, if it's me calling for the 50th time. So they're pretty sick of hearing from all of us. So I think it's really an exciting opportunity to get involved. This work is really important and unfortunately dire, but it can also be pretty fun, a fun way to get engaged in the civic process. So I want to be mindful of people's time, but are there any last questions before we adjourn? We're always available if you have a question that didn't get addressed and want to reach out to us individually. All of our information should be on the website. But any last questions before we kind of wrap things up?
Yeah, so I'm in Minnesota and I'm pretty sure my representatives are going to be on board, but I've got some friends in Wisconsin who might want to get involved too. Can I share this information with them, and what's the best way to do that?
Oh, absolutely. I'd say the best way is probably this link. I'm going to post it again, but this kind of web page with all the links to resources, I think is going to be your kind of one-stop shop.
Fantastic. Thanks.
Yeah,
Awesome.
preface
Thanks
what
so
you
much.
say to your friends that, hey, I'm doing this. Will you join me over next door?
Kate, where are your friends located in Wisconsin?
In the Green Bay area and one very near Milwaukee.
Okay, I have some people in Eau Claire that would be interested in joining something, but also, if you're planning an action and you want to see if anyone in your community would like to join you, reach out to me and we'll help send out a notice for folks to join, if that's helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I wanted to also add to that, Kate, the real important part of sharing that page, I think, is going to be, as Greg mentioned, the survey. Making sure that they know to fill that out and hopefully fill that out before Thursday so that we can have a good sense of where everybody is. And yeah. And like Jenny said, I want to reiterate, if you want to do something and are unsure or, don't, want some kind of support, we are more than happy to offer that. All right. I'm going to allow anybody, if they want to ask a question before we wrap up here, just raise your hand. But thank you all for being here. I hope all of you take the survey and are able to join us. I really think this can be a powerful thing. We have Trump coming in and, a Republican supermajority. It's not, I don't know how optimistic we can be about the amendment passing in this session, but, what we're seeing on the inside, the people we talk to, the staffers that we talk to, the legislators that we talk to, there really kind of there's been a shift in how people are looking at this and looking at systemic change in general. We really feel like this is the time to, make this an issue. It's more apparent than it's ever been. There's more money being spent than there ever has been, and really more people that know about what Citizens United is than there ever really has been. we want to make sure that not only do they know what Citizens United is, but really know that it goes beyond that. And the root of the problem really is corporate constitutional rights, which we've been dealing with for well over 100 years. So now is the time to popularize this issue, make it so that, you know, the amount of co-sponsors we get, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a real people's movement to really apply that pressure. But, you know, we really feel like now is the time. So that's kind of my closing spiel. I really hope that all of you can join us. And I do see that Moji, you have your hand raised. So go ahead.
Thank you. What you just said reminded me of two things. One was one meeting over the weekend of the Democratic Socialists of my area, and the other one, what this guy said on, I don't know, one of these Sunday shows. And within the Democratic Party, after the defeat that they have suffered, the establishment Democrats, there is a push to whether to take the Democratic Party in a quote unquote democratic populist direction versus a progressive direction. There are a number of issues that those Democrats, establishment Democrats that want to cover their behind and appear progressive. One of those issues is healthcare, which is in this meeting that I was in the other day, and to advocate for. The other one is corporate hegemony. So this issue is something that can actually push the narrative of push the establishment corporate Democrats who are looking for some kind of a either new direction or a new narrative. They need issues in order to fit that narrative. And in this case, the corporate, I call it corporate fascism. But anyhow, this is something that can help them hold on to their seats, which is their primary concern, unfortunately. And at the same time, there is enough grassroots support among Trump supporters who are poor whites that have been shafted. And except that the MAGA people will tell them the Muslims are to blame, Mexicans are to blame, and all kinds of otherisms. But in this case, when we tell them about how corporate personhood has contributed to them feeling screwed, then we can get some people on quote unquote on our side. And but it is a very important issue at this point in time. And it can be useful in terms of trying to get establishment Democrats, push them over toward the progressive rather than the democratic populism, which I don't know what exactly it is, by the way. But it's basically, I think it means fooling people, but with new language. So anyhow, I just thought to share this.
Yeah, thanks so much. And thanks so much to all of you for being here. We are gonna get going because we're a little over 9, but I just want to say I'm really excited about this, and I hope all of you are as excited. I think this is going to be a real powerful event, and I don't know about you, but I'm sick of the effects that Citizens United and corporate constitutional rights have had on our society. So 15 years is way too long, and The 100 years before that is even worse. So we're really hoping that we can you all will join us in building this democracy movement and keep fighting the good fight. Again, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions beyond what's been covered here. The recording of this will be available soon that you can share with anybody. Please share it as far and wide as you can. The more the merrier. We really want as many people as we possibly can talking about this. So we hope to see all of you next Tuesday, and good luck. Let us know if you have any help. Thanks so much for all that you do.
Take pictures and send them to us too.
Oh, and please take pictures. If you have an action, have a meeting, please take pictures. We're going to include all of that in a debrief. So again, thanks y'all. Have a great rest of your day, night, and keep fighting the good fight.